New Helix and HX Stomp firmware day.
We changed your channel. That's what it's called now. Welcome to Worship Tutorials. I'm Bradford.
I'm Brian. And if you have a Helix or a Line 6 HX Stomp, there is new firmware available for you.
Maybe HX Effects too. Actually.
Right now. Yeah, probably.
HX Effects. It says right there.
People say we forget about HX Effects. We just proved it wrong. All right. Links below where you can get the new firmware, which is, of course, free from Line 6. You can also purchase this patch that we're going to use to demonstrate the new firmware in this video. So throughout this video, we're going to be showing you some favorites that we've got dialed in for these different effects blocks that Line 6 has added. We have a favorites pack available at Worship Tutorials. Link below. It's completely free. If you don't know how favorites work, we made a video on favorites. Link for that below too.
I still don't know why we do this, but
it's basically like our dialed in settings for lots. At this point, there are lots of different effects in there.
We tweak stuff when
it's
with
huge.
amps, and things get adjusted. But
yeah, so in that favorites pack, you're gonna get
85% of the way
you're gonna get both of these dynamic plate settings that we've dialed in, a couple shimmers, settings for all the new delays. All that is available for you. Download. Link below. You can just pull it into your Helix, HX Stomp, or HX Effects. They're compatible with all of the HX
as long
devices.
as everything is updated.
Yep, update. If you see...
Did we say that yet?
If you see the words, this contains unrecognized models, update HX Edit today.
Just
now,
the
right
easiest
now.
thing, just delete HX Edit. And then,
go
grab the
reinstall.
file from Line 6 website because it'll be the most up-to-date version.
There you go. So links for that below. Go download them, install them on your device. So first things first, there's a brand new amp model. Line 6 keeps giving and giving and giving. New amp model called the Ventoux. Ventoux?
It's a wine region in France, as I read.
Yes, it sounds really good. What would you say it sounds like to you, Bradford? Because it's not based on a real amp.
No, it is, if we remember correctly. But actually, you know what?
It's right there in the notes.
It's right here.
From Ben Adrian.
From Ben.
Yes.
This model comes from a physical amp idea I had a while back. I was going to build it as a tube amp first. There were only so many hours in a day, though. The idea was to create a coveted boutique amp, that was in quotes, that had a different origin story. Most coveted boutique amps come from modified black panel fenders or modified Marshall circuits. I wanted to do the same thing, but base it on the early 70s orange circuits and the mid-wattage Fender Tweed circuits.
You can hear all that.
It's cool.
Thing. It does even a little bit of chime.
It does. So it almost is...
If you're a Vox person like me...
almost Voxy.
This amp sounds great. So right now what you're hearing is just the amp model with a compressor. We are including 2 IR cabs that we made from the matchless Laurel Canyon amplifier. It has a Celestion G12H30 Heritage speaker in it. We thought it sounded great, and that comes from a boutique deluxe Fender-y thing made by Matchless. It's a great match in our opinion. That's what you're listening to. And a little bit of the new dynamic plate reverb is on as well. Let's hear it.
I just want to show everybody a splash of the verb first.
Okay.
It's so good.
This is our subtle setting.
Subtle.
So there it is clean. Let's hit it with a little King of Tone. I might turn on something else. We have a button here that's set to change the amp gain, and it adjusts other parameters for EQ as well. So Bradford, play something. I'll turn on the KOT, and then I'll hit the amp gain. It'll get big. So let's spend a few moments talking about this amp model. We're going to break this into sections in this video. We're going to talk about the different updates, the different effects that they've added. So chapter markers across the bottom of the video, amp model. It's good.
It is. It's always fun when you get something like that. It feels, I don't know, new effects are always great in the Helix, but to have a new amp just feels like It's just more mileage out of the thing.
It's like you bought a new unit.
Yeah, but it just sounds great, and every time they put a new amp in the last several updates, it's like another top tier. So good. We talked about this in another video.
And I like the way that they, the kinds of amps that they. So the last amp they gave us was the orange rocker verb, 100 watt, I think, or was it 50? Can't remember.
50.
It was a hard rock amp. This is much more of a vintage flavored amp. As you heard, we had it set on like the edge of breakup tone.
But it still has like some or you can hear the orange and the Marshall-ish kind of thing.
It's thick.
And it's got that note separation too, which is very crucial if you're going to play with higher gain. You don't want it to sound like a mush.
Yeah, so to me it has that Fendery vibe because they do. Ben referenced that Ben, as though we're friends. Ben Adrian, I'd like to be your friend. Maybe
we've had
we'll hang out.
Conversation.
Yeah, we've had. Well, sure. But I want to break bread with the man. Have a meal.
I mean, I'm always down to eat.
Let's do it. Okay. Cheeseburgers on us, Ben Adrian. Let's do it. So he describes it as Marshall meets orange meets vintage Fender.
Yeah.
He referenced tweed, which I hear because the black panel Fender is a mid-scooped sound. The tweed Fender is a mid-push sound. Yeah. And this has
it's got that hairy,
thick mid-range
thing. But the cleans, I mean, look, this is bridge pickup. Here's neck pickup just picking lighter.
And I got to remember, I can't talk while the playing's happening. So my mouth moved as you didn't hear me. Let's hear it with the telly. So that was actually both of these guitars have Lambertones pickups in them. Those are the Ristrettos, which is like a P90 that sounds like a huge Strat.
It does. Here's
the Telecaster bridge pickup. Yeah, cleans up nice. Sounds great. Thing about it for me with a Fender amp, a lot of times when you gain them up, like what we do with this amp gain switch here, the low end gets kind of loose and flubby. Some people really like that sound.
Yeah, it's a cool sound, but
it's all like preference, but we're not huge fans of it, especially when you add lots of reverb and delay type of effects afterwards.
Hello, that's us. That's what we do.
You want stuff to remain, the tighter it can sound, the better, which is why Vox amps are so popular, because the drive on them is so focused. But this amp model sounds really nice and tight. That's where the Marshall orange character comes in for me. So the next thing we would like to talk about, because it's worship tutorials, reverb. Bradford, didn't we mention in the last firmware update video that I think we even might have titled it like Line 6 gave us the best reverb they've given us yet.
Yeah.
And that was the dynamic hall reverb.
We were not.
And we have used
There's a word when you just say stuff. I can't think of it offhand. I'd never heard of it till recently, but I can't remember it.
Yeah. So we have used that dynamic hall in a lot of patches. We've personally both used it a lot.
Oh yeah, I
live
swap every patch. I pull every verb out and put the dynamic hall.
Anytime I'm using Helix, it gets dynamic hall. Now they've given us dynamic plate. And dynamic plate is on par at least with dynamic hall. Yeah, it's really good.
Definitely a different sound. Admittedly, well, first off, I'm just not, like, a plate is not a go-to sound for me. For at least for this our style of music. The character is really cool. The shiny, shimmery, like, character of a plate, which is what's happening. It's like a metal plate.
It's an actual
a real plate reverb.
Plate.
Yeah, like the sound gets shot across a plate, basically.
Yeah.
It's a cool thing. Not my favorite for worship. And so I was like, yeah, that's cool.
They can be a little metallic-y,
which makes sense.
Right, because that's the material.
But when I saw the release saying that this was there, I was like, yeah, I definitely want to check it out. But I'm not expecting to want to use it. Not because of Line 6, just because of my preference. However, all that to say,
it's good.
This thing is toy.
So In this preset, we've given you 2 different instances of the plate. First is the subtle, and you can see here what the settings that you get are, and they're actually a lot like the dynamic hall. You've got decay, which is pretty simple, and it goes up to basically forever. Pre-delay, damping is an EQ. So the higher, that has to do with high frequencies on the EQ. Then you've got the motion rate and range is like it moves. It kind of makes it alive, right? What else? You've got the release notes there. What are the different parameters?
Yeah, decay, pre-delay. Pre-delay is like just how long before it comes in.
Yeah.
Damping, another way I like to think about it is like it softens it, so it's not quite as like metallic-y too. It kind of that's kind of how it helps.
You get that warm, smooth thing.
Motion rate, motion range. We talked about that. We found that especially on the bigger haul, that was a real nice thing to crank up.
Yeah,
it's not outlandish.
We've got the rate at 8 and the range at 7.4 on the big one, and it's dialed back quite a bit on the small one.
Yeah, on the smaller one, we kept it like tight and focused, and then in the bigger one, that movement was really cool.
Yeah.
Mix, low frequency, low gain. So you can choose the frequency and then how much of that frequency. Low cut and high cut, which...
These are important.
Yes, and like if you're trying to... The low frequency and the low cut can be used differently because if you want some part of the low to be there to kind of fill it out, but you also don't want the rest of that stuff in there, just crank the low cut out and then you can pick a frequency to add back. High cut is just, it allows you to cut off any of that, like that high end, or you may want it. The breathiness of a plate is really cool. Yeah. And then level, you can use that to actually like here's a little quick like hack. Like if you want to step on one button to like boost solos, you could actually turn on, you want a big verb, and you could push the level so it kind of turns things up.
This is my solo reverb. No one's ever said that, but you can do it.
Well, I do that.
Okay. Bradford does it.
I do that I've done that before.
Okay.
But anyways, and then obviously trails. So
yeah,
there's that. It's a nice sound.
Yeah, here's the subtle, and then as Bradford plays, I'll turn this off so you hear how it's like, bring that back, please. And then I'm going to give you the Hallelujah plate. Oh, we haven't talked about that.
Yeah, we'll get there.
So as you...
Straight up delicious.
As you might have assumed, we call this the Hallelujah plate because it sounds like Hallelujah, Jeff Buckley.
It sounds...
I mean, it's not spot on, but it's pretty close.
It just has that vibe because it's just a massive...
It's really good.
Washy plate thing.
And it sounds great with big gain. Why don't we just show them, Bradford? I'll put some big gain on.
We are able to do that. Your average plate doesn't do that very well.
Right. Okay, let's move on to Shimmer. We're going to try and keep going because there's a lot to cover here. So the Shimmer is a brand new algorithm from Line 6. They have the Octo, which is in the Legacy. And
remember those pedals that were like a freaking brick and you could kill somebody with? I guess you could probably kill somebody with many pedals, but these were ginormous.
Yeah, you could.
That's like where they came from.
Yeah.
And they got... So that's a legacy sound.
Yeah.
Here's a new one.
One of the firmware 2.5. Remember firmware 2.5?
That's when we got the great verb.
That's when you got Glitz and Plateau. Is it Plateau that has...
Searchlights? Plateau.
Plateau has Shimmer in it as well. But this is a dedicated Shimmer algorithm that's like... If you're an Eventide Shimmer person, like me, I think it's the best. Nobody touches Eventide. Am I right, Nick?
Yes.
Eventide is it. Nobody touches it. Line 6 is coming pretty close with their Shimmer. In this one, it's a vast improvement on the old Shimmer. Now, there are a lot of controls with the Shimmer. First of all, you notice there's a type button. And Bradford's got the notes here. So there's basically 2 different algorithms built into this thing.
Yeah, it's luster and sheen. Luster, they say, is more traditional Shimmer effect, tighter definition, and the lustery bits. That's what this
Luster is what we've used in this patch.
Sheen is the default, it says. It's more of a Lush Studio plugin type of Shimmer, with a massive sheeny bloom.
Yes.
Which it sounds way more metallic.
We're gonna put it on, and I'll switch the types while Bradford's playing, so you can hear it. Now there's 2 pitch parameters, so you can octave up, and then you can go like 10 cents, 20 cents. You can go octave up and octave down, which we've done.
50 cent.
And then there's intensity, feedback, mix. That's all pretty standard stuff for reverb. Then there's the pitch blend. So you've got those 2 pitch parameters. So in this case, we've gone octave up for pitch 1, octave down for pitch 2. And we're actually going a little bit heavier on the down pitch. Yeah. So our buddy Junior at Jet Pedal has the Revelation reverb. And Bradford showed me this. Called
the anti-shimmer.
The anti-shimmer.
It's delicious.
It's like
amazing.
Octave down reverb. It's pretty awesome. Junior's got it on lock. This doesn't sound quite like the Revelation reverb does. That thing sounds amazing. But this sounds pretty cool. And then there's pre-delay, room size, damping, diffusion. It's the same type of stuff from the other reverbs.
It is.
And then there's the motion control again. Which is, I like this motion control. It's like modulation, but not.
It's not as pitchy.
Yeah, it just moves.
Typically, it's modulation and like chorus vibrato are like altering the pitch, but like this is more like it just adds. It's not quite tremolo either.
Yeah,
because it's just real like.
It just floats around.
It's
nice. It's good. Anyway, this is our go-to Shimmer sound,
and it has like you can hear verb almost like it's a separate thing.
Yes.
And like you can hear that, and that on its own is great. So listen to this before like I actually play a note.
It's nice. So one of the things we love about it is that it doesn't get really harsh really quickly, like the Octo did.
And we did EQ some of that and set some of that up, but it's even then it's a more pure sounding Shimmer. And what I mean by that is the opposite in my mind is it's not like this choppy particle thing.
Yes.
That like you can just hear like the notes regenerating. Like that's terrible. That's basically you hear each individual time it goes up.
You can kind of do that.
You can bring the diffusion down.
You bring it down, and it's like a little more stuttery.
Yeah.
But so one thing I want to do real quick before we move on from Shimmer is switch between the 2 types.
Yeah.
So go ahead and play, and you'll see me here on the screen switching between them. You probably didn't see. You saw me move, but
I kind of did. You
definitely heard it.
Yeah,
like
it's a little
high
more
frequency came through.
Yeah, it's like they're more pronounced. They're not as they're more jabby. I don't know, and not bad with it, but like it's a cool thing if that's what you want. But if like the way we're using it is like a subtle under layer thing, and so that's why we like the luster.
Luster is the more to me it's warmer. It's more subtle. The sheen is that what it's called?
Yeah,
sheen. It's brighter, more
Charlie Sheen. Tiger's blood.
That's right. It's got more tiger blood in it.
Winning.
It's but we say this all the time. One person's bright is what they prefer, is another person's harsh. One person's warm is another person's muddy. So it's really up to you. The cool thing is Line 6 is basically giving you 2 different Shimmer algorithms in one preset. And in one effect block, which they've done before and some other stuff they've added. I think it's really cool. So what's the first kind of new delay that's in there, Bradford? Got the notes up over here.
Tell them what they won. So there's one called Heliosphere.
Okay, so to get that, we've got to remove something. That's one thing about a lot of these new effects are pretty resource intensive. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to pull out the big plate.
You do that, and I'm going to explain a
little bit. Wait. What I'm going to do, I'm going to have to pull out the big plate. I'm going to pull the Shimmer out is what I'm going to do. How do I do this?
I assume
Clear. Now, I use the editor too much, but I'm using
that.
So I'm gonna go to our dual delay setting, and here's where I'm gonna pull in these favorites that we've saved of the new algorithms. Okay, first one is what?
Heliosphere.
Heliosphere.
So the heliosphere is like a delay and reverb, but the reverb doesn't come in until the delay repeats happen.
Oh yeah.
So it's cool. It's different.
That's the delay verb thing.
We messed around with it, and somebody
if I can find it.
Here
they all are.
More creative might come up with a better.
We call this
we did.
Helio ambient.
So we'll turn off everything else
there.
here, just so you can hear the dry. Can you hear the dry real quick? So you can hear the different. Nothing. So you just hear that like there's no verb until the first repeat.
It gets pretty ambient.
Yeah.
And the reverb in it sounds really nice.
It does. I don't know like a practical reason why somebody would be like, that's exactly what I want. Because again, listen.
It's like a very exaggerated pre-delay.
Yeah.
Essentially what it is.
Yeah.
Well, there's more of a delay component. And this one is a very resource-hungry block because it's got a delay and a reverb in it.
One thing we found also that could be cool is it's great for swells.
Yeah.
Maybe if you want to put that after all your delays and reverbs and you want to use it as like your step on it to get swells and you have like a delay or reverb before.
This is ambient in a single block.
Yeah. It fattens up the trails, the wetness. It gets pretty crazy.
So the next one is the ADT, which the T has to stand for tape.
Yeah, I guess.
It's well, I'll let Bradford describe it because when we pulled this up and dialed this setting in, it was like it reminded you of something.
It kind of sounds like what I have heard of the Deco. I've never actually played a Deco.
The Strymon Deco.
Yeah, but it's like the stereo flange idea because it's taking two signals. It's not really a delay as in the fact that you hear repeats. You can...
The biggest delay you can get is 200 milliseconds.
Yeah, so you can't like get anything crazy, but like the Deco has like this small amount of repeats, so you can like kind of hear that.
It's like a slappish kind of thing.
And with the two different delay times, one can go up to 0.02 seconds, and the other can go up to 0.20 seconds.
So 20 and 200
it's
milliseconds.
minimal. So when you play them together and they're slightly out of phase and you add a little bit of movement and mod, it sounds kind of like flangery. And it sounds like chorus, flanger or something, depending on how you like to do things.
Personally, I think of this like retro reel, which is a very cool textural effect to use. Textural, is that a word?
Well, if you add like our big verb,
it gets you a cool texture. There is a saturation element to this, so you can saturate either of the two tape heads to get like a drive, like a tape deck drive out of it. So Bradford can play, and I'm just going to turn up one. We have him set at 0. I turn that up. Nick is in the back, and he goes, "Whoa!" Like they have different voices to them. Like the first one was saturate 1. I assume that's the first tape head, and it had like a big, almost like a fuzz type of a sound.
Yeah.
So you can use this as a drive if you want to.
Yeah, it's cool. It's a texture thing.
Yeah.
Experiment.
Okay, next one.
This is crisscross.
Oh, this one was cool. Yeah.
This one is like if you have two delays in a patch and you run them in parallel, they are not going to interact. So you're going to get a repetitive pattern. Yeah, you're going to get a pattern. It's going to be the exact same thing each time the repeats go. If you have them in series, you're feeding one into the other, and so the repeats are going to get gnarly. Crisscross is kind of like
it's in the middle.
You can like modulate or automate, probably the word I'm looking for, to like make them interact and not interact. So you can kind of like have them change, kind of like exactly what it sounds like. Like they're in series and now they're going back into parallel, and then they're coming back into series, that kind of thing.
So we've set up one quarter note and dotted eighth note delay. Bradford's going to play. You're going to hear what they do. Give it like a rake first.
Yeah, definitely.
So it's patterny, but kind of all starts to mesh together.
If you kind of think about that idea of like the delay trails like intersecting, you can kind of hear how like they seem to be getting further apart than closer together.
Yeah.
So if actually, can you turn the mix and the feedback up some? Maybe we can if we exaggerate it.
Yeah, let's make it bigger and then mix. Yeah, now we're at mix at 50%. Yeah, so you're kind of getting both things happening.
Yeah. So here's some actual notes.
Yeah, and so it has this crossfeed.
It doesn't run away from you.
Yeah, it has this crossfeed parameter, and it's not like it's not like one side is parallel and the other side is series. That's not how it works. It's all like interactive. So Bradford, go ahead and play, and I'm just going to play with the crossfeed. So what I hear is you never do get that series feel where it's where it almost turns into a reverb. It's like you get different levels of patterny kind of thing.
Yeah, it's
like where you are.
It's like you just hear like there may be it's exactly to me. I hear the way the crisscross happens. You hear them kind of like
That's why they're called crisscross.
I don't know.
Okay. And so there's a lot of other parameters. You can read the release notes to see what they do there. We're trying to keep this brief.
Yeah.
So let's.
Well, speaking of. The Tesselator is next.
The Tesselator. Did we save one for that?
That thing is...
Whoops, I don't want that.
That thing is pretty crazy. There's a lot going on.
We don't have a Tesselator. I'm just going to pull it in.
That Tesselator is like a sample hold kind of thing with lots of crazy adjustable stuff. Honestly, this is yet another instance of something that...
Oh, yeah. This is just
stock
settings. So this is the one where you play something and then turn it on and it kind of grabs it and does a thing.
It's a morphing delay, part loop sampler and part drone machine.
Let's do this. Let's turn the boomerang on and go to forward reverse and increase the steps. There's a lot of different parameters for this one. Let's not mess with pitch at this point, and let's kind of give it a big mix so we can really hear it. Or it doesn't. Does it even have a mix? Effect level. Okay, we're at 8. All right, so this will be pretty good. You play and I'll turn it on. I've got it 49 steps. There you go. So you can really get some interesting creative stuff. Then there is another delay they've added called the Ratchet. Is that correct? It's just like a very simplified version of the Tesselator. It does kind of the same thing, just gives you less parameters.
And I'm pretty sure if that's the case, it also uses less DSP. So depending on how you want to utilize the feature,
there you go.
But you can like set it up to how long it records in loops, and it happens once you hit the button. It's slightly different in that regard. It's definitely something that like most of these that we just went through are things you're like, you should mess with yourself, have some fun. And there's no one way to use it. And even if you found a way, if you don't save it, you probably won't be able to figure out how to get back to what you did.
Find something cool,
That's the fun
save
of
it
it.
as a favorite. So there are quite a few other updates that they've given us. Another reverb called a dynamic room. If you use room reverb, which is a much less pronounced type of a reverb than what we typically put in our patches, it gives you the feeling of being in the same room as the amp. There's a new dynamic room. It sounds really good as well. It's on this, these dynamic reverbs they're giving us are very good. There's a new compressor.
There is.
There's a new chorus.
Yeah, it's both of them are Ampeg. It's an Ampeg compressor.
Cool.
And Line 6, Yamaha owns
they're
it,
all
so.
under the same umbrella. So.
Yeah, Ampeg Optocomp and Ampeg Liquefier is the course. You can do, but actually what's cool is Line 6, even for like things that aren't stereo in real life, like this compressor, they stereoize it so you can run it in a chain or maybe at the end of a chain if you want.
Yeah. A lot of people do that as like a studio compression kind of a thing. There's a ton of legacy effects. Now, I actually was under the impression that the Helix already included all of the legacy being from like the M9, the M13.
Or like the
HD500.
What do they call they call it whatever the 4 series. There's the MM4, the DM4, the DL4, the FM4.
So they're
added purple, they're blue, they're green, they're red, they're yellow.
They've added more of those legacy effects back in.
The biggest thing is the pitch and synth stuff, which I believe was the FM4.
Okay.
I think.
So if you're a fan of some of those old school Line 6 effects, which there are lots of people out there who love those things, you've got more of them all available to you in the Helix, HX Stomp, and HX effects.
Yeah. So that's it.
We're done.
I mean, Brian and I think I'll speak on my behalf, but I assume you agree. The amp and the plate reverb were more than enough. More than enough.
I would have bought a new unit just to get those things because they're awesome.
But we don't have to because that's Line 6 for you. So thanks for checking everything out. We have loads of patches. This is that for other units. Maybe you somehow stumbled upon this video and you don't even have a Line 6 unit. We have other patches as well for other units. So check that out. Links down below. There's lots of other videos. If you haven't subscribed, do that. We do content like this regularly. If there's a new firmware that comes out, we are covering it. We are a part of the beta team, and so we are able to do this so we can dive into it, and we help provide feedback and all that. So subscribe. Thank you. Let us know what you think. Let us know if there's something that we didn't talk about that you
love,
grabbed your fancy in the release notes that you're looking forward to trying. But we'll see you next time. Have a good one.
Bye-bye.